Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We are still in the topic, learner attendance navigation. Colleagues also will be having our subject matter expert, Mr. Mluli from Limpopo province. He will be joining us much later because he's having some session before this. So colleagues, I just want to say thank you so much for joining the session today. Thank you to the early birds, those that were here on time. Colleagues, we are going to start immediately. Please be aware that this session is a 1 hour session and we'll try as much as possible to keep it to 1 hour. Colleagues, moving right along, we are going to the business of the day. And this is just a notice saying that the value structure version update is now available. Colleagues, you'll be able to update your value structure to be in line with the new gazetted term dates. Now, when you look here, you can see the new version. The new version is version 7.0.0.1. This is where you check. This is the value structure for the school users. You know the value structure you use to verify your data when capturing on Ssams. And this is where you see the version. If this version is not 7.0.01, when you connect to an active internet and you're running the value structure, once you click the value structure icon, immediately you click it, a message will come up to you, a prompt will appear requesting you to upgrade. Please click on upgrade and it will just upgrade your value structure to the latest one. Colleagues, also, once you have upgraded your value structure, please go ahead and submit your data according to the gazetted term dates. And please note that data submitted outside the new term date would not be reflected on the DDD dashboard. Another way to download the latest value structure is on the DDD dashboard website. When you scroll down to this point, you would see it will ask you to click and download the latest value structure, which is 7.0.0.1. If you try this and you are still having challenges, please contact your MS official or please contact the DDD help desk by sending an email to help, HELP, at dbe-dashboard, one word, .co.za. We'll be giving you the information even with the phone number at the end of the session. Also, colleagues, we know that most of the provinces, they have the IT technicians that come and upload this for them. So please contact them that there is a new version of the value structure and you need it to be downloaded to your system. Moving right along, colleagues, also, if you're joining us for the first time, you will not be aware and familiarize yourself with how this webinar is going to be run. But if you've been with us for a while, I'm sure that you are aware of this. But I'm just going to take our time to read this out so we are all aligned with it. If you lose signal and leave the Zoom session, please do not worry. You can click the link and rejoin the session as soon as your connection is restored. Also, if your connection is not restored, don't worry. All webinars are recorded, and within approximately 24 hours after the presentation, all attendees present here will receive one attendance register, the link to the recording so you can listen to it and also learn what you missed out. And thirdly, the presentation slides will also be sent to everyone, because while you're registering, we requested for your emails. So we are going to be sending that to the email that you put down. If you have any questions, please, colleagues, engage with the Q&A. We are going to be having this session for 25-30 minutes, and the other part is for the Q&A. Our SME will be joining us shortly to be able to answer your questions. Also, all attendees are on mute during the session, but if you have logged on and you find out that you are not on mute, please kindly help us to mute yourself and avoid disturbances during the session. Colleagues, we also value your feedback. Please take out time to answer the poll question that will be launched 15 to 10 minutes towards the end of the session. Last but not the least, please note that the DDD webinars are recorded and published on our DDD dashboard YouTube channel. This allows other education officials to access the recording, because they must have missed it, maybe because they have conflicting meetings and conflicting priorities. They can also have time to also listen to the recording in their own time and benefit from the content provided. Should you have any question or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact the DDD help desk by sending an email to help@dbe-dashboard, one word, .co.za. help@dbe-dashboard.co.za. Thank you so much. Now, moving right along to our learning objective of today. Number one, at the end of this session, we'll be able to understand the DDD dashboard learner attendance navigation. Two is we'll be able to understand the impact of learner absenteeism. And thirdly, we'll be able to understand learner attendance best practices and challenges. Please, colleagues, know that this best practices is with respect to how things has put theirs. But however, we also encourage that if you see any best practices that you feel is going to be aligned with what you are doing in your provinces, also align with the policy, the national and the provincial policy of your province, you can also please adopt that. Now, immediately right along, we are going to the dashboard. Colleagues, I just want to say a big welcome to our SME, Sami Mluli. As I alluded earlier, he was in another meeting, but he promised that he was going to take out time to join us. For those that don't know Sami is actually in charge of training for Ssams in Limpopo. He's also in charge if there's any errors, complaint, or challenges with respect to Ssams. He's the go-to person. So we'll be engaging Sami with most of the questions that you'll be asking at the second part. Thank you so much, Sami, for joining. Colleagues, we are actually going to go straight to the dashboard. So permit me to stop sharing and I will go straight to the dashboard. Colleagues, we are going to go, and the dashboard that I'm going to go through, colleagues, is the anonymized dashboard. So please, if the dashboard that we are engaging with, it's not the real dashboard that has the live information of attendees or schools. It's just the dummy dashboard where we have anonymized names of learners and educators and also their tasks. But we are going to be using this as the information moving forward. Now, can we see here? I'm just going to refresh this page so it doesn't kick me out. Okay, I can see that we are still fine. Now, colleagues, when you log as a school principal or educator or maybe HOD, whatsoever your designation is, once you log to your school dashboard, the first thing you will see is this page. That's the landing page. It will have your school name, that's the school 110, your MS code. It will have the date, the term it's displaying. Okay, now what we are looking at is the learner attendance, which is this. Right now, based on school 110 for term 1 2020, the learner attendance is 99% at the end of term 1 2020. Now, when you put your cursor on the pie chart here, we can see a distribution of different subnames and the percentage and numbers attached to it. I'll be going to be explaining each and every one of them. So when you engage the information, you'll be able to know what this is. Also, colleagues, while I am speaking also, please, if you have questions, about, I know a whole lot of us joined because we want to know answers to our problems when we capture on Ssams. Please keep putting those questions on the Q&A. Please use the Q&A alone so we can be able to monitor those questions. Also, if you want to speak, you have an option of raising up your hands, and I'm going to go through that. But that will only be, we'll only get to that when we finished the first part of the presentation. Okay, so right now, as I'm saying, we have all these metrics that make up the 99%. One is the achieved, 2 is the target, 3 is the learner count, and 4 is the data completeness. And I'm going to explain each and every one of them. Colleagues, the first one is achieved. Now, when we talk about achieved, can we see that we have 99% achieved? That speaks to what has been achieved at the school at the end of term 1 2020. Now, the next one is the target. Colleagues, the target is saying what is the target set, and the target can only be set by the department. Okay, now the department sets targets for each metrics. As the target is being set, school A principal might say, okay, the attendance target has been set for 95. And I feel that we can do more than a 95 set target. So I would want to increase the target. That can be possible. The principal can increase the target, but however, please note that the target can only be increased and not decreased. So you cannot set a target for 94. Instead, you can set from 96 upwards, okay? Now, the color is not red here because the target has been surpassed. Okay, the target has been met and surpassed, which is 99. However, supposing the target here is 94 or less than 94, it will be red. Okay, because the target was not met. Now, the next one is the learner count. Now, the learner count just speaks of how many learners do you have in your school. Okay, make sure that the learners that are in the physical register, the number of learners align with the numbers that we have on the learner count. So school 110 have 1,027 learners. And the last point here is the data completeness. Now, when we talk about the data completeness, we are saying, has the data been captured completely on Ssams? There's a difference between has the data been captured correctly. Okay, we are talking about data completeness and not data correctness. Data completeness is when you are given a form or you go to the phone shop to get a contract and they give you a form and you fill all the information that has been requested of you. Okay, that is data completeness. Now, data correctness needs a verification process. That is when you say your name is XYZ or your bank details are XYZ, there's a verification process that will check, is the information you are given correct? Has it been verified? That is where the verification process comes in. The principal is the sole custodian of the school that needs to verify this. However, most times the principal delegates. There's no problem delegating, but as the sole responsibility or the sole person that is responsible for that task, you need to also make sure that that task has been carried out. Okay, so there's a form of verification that needs to happen. And we are not saying that people are not, schools are not verifying, but we are saying they need to keep the momentum. Okay, most schools we know do not verify, but we are saying verification needs to take place. Okay, now moving right along, colleagues, we are also going down. As I said, we have completed this. Now we are going down to learners. Okay, we have educators here. You see the number of educators in the school, 28. The number of learners still coincide with the top information that we saw, 1,027. And can we see the learner names, the age, the grade, absent, report, age versus grade, are they on track or not, and the promotion status. Now we are looking at the days absent. Now, once you click here, it sorts from the lowest to the highest. Okay, now once you click here again, it sorts from the highest to the lowest. Now, all this information that we have here, it needs to be collated. You see the number of days, 10 days, 8 days, 7 days, and the percentage of the day is also put down here. So you see the different days. All these days the information needs to be collated to the principal. If the principal is not the one looking at this information, the names of these learners need to be given to the principal for the principal to do a follow-up. Maybe call the parents, find out why these learners or their wards are not in school, or maybe make a visit to the home of these learners to verify why the learners are not in school. Another thing the principal needs to do is the principal needs to check if there's a trend between the previous terms and this term, to say this, or the previous weeks and this week, to say, is there a trend, or do we have this normal week where this learner is not always in school? And there's a lot of maybe reasons why these learners are not in school. You know, it might be because they are helping out their parents in the farm. Maybe it's the harvest season. Maybe they are they are at the mountains and all that. So we need to know. You know, we cannot assume. We need actually to know, because those information propel the next steps of what needs to happen. You know, we remember when we talk about when learners are not in school for 3 consecutive days. Also, when learners are not in school for 10 consecutive days. Also, the process of deregistering a learner. We will look at all of that in the course of this session. Okay, now, but first of all, let's look at one of these learners, and we are going to talk about the next thing when it talks about Okay, I can see that it has kicked me out. I'm still going to log on again. We are also going to look at, while I said we are going to look, is that we are going to look at why, is there any relationship between attendance and the impact of learner absenteeism? Okay, remember we are looking at the same school and we click here. It takes us from the highest to the lowest. Now we click on this. Okay, it has taken us to the page of the first learner, which is Mary, that has 10 days. Can you see now that this is in red? Because it did not meet the 95% target. So it's showing that attendance of Mary for term 1 2020 did not meet the 95% target. Okay, now when we go, can we see also the assessment? Can we see it's 56 and it's 52? It's going down. Okay, it's going down. So it shows that, and this might be worse in some schools, it might be better in some schools, but what we are saying is that we are saying that if a learner is not in school, that means that learner is not partaking in learning, teaching and learning that is happening in the class. And also know that also the syllabus is also being taught accordingly. So if the learner is missing bits and pieces of that, it's going to start affecting the assessment of this learner. And we can go down and see, can we see the days that this learner has not been in school? Can we see the 10 days? It's all 10 days that this learner has not been in school. And can we go down and can we see the task, which is broken into task? The assessment has been broken into tasks. Can we see that this learner is struggling in some of this task? Can we see? Now, as I said, the assessment keeps tilting to the negative the more this learner is not in school, because this learner is not partaking in the teaching and learning that is happening in the class. Okay, now when we also go down, we can see the brief information of this learner. Okay, now colleagues, moving right along, why am I doing this? I'm just doing this. When you engage with your dashboard and you look at this information, they must have meaning. They must make meaning to you, and you must be able to have constructive intervention based on the data that you're actually engaging with. Now, colleagues, can I please beg that I stop sharing here and then we go back to the slides, okay? Now, going back to the slides, as I said, we are now going to go straight to the next topic that we're talking about, which is talking about learner best practices and challenges. Okay, we are going to start with the challenges first, and the challenges is not limited to what we have put down. There are many more, but we just put the few of this down. And I know that these challenges resonate with each and every one of us. The first one here, which we all know, talks about learner attendance registers are not marked accurately and truthfully. And I will tell you, I've been opportune to travel to all the provinces. Okay, I have worked with all the provinces of Department of Education. I've worked with the schools, I've worked in the districts. And colleagues, more especially, when you work with the school, you see that this is something that you see on a daily, where learners' attendance are being captured by the educators, not in class, not doing it the right way. We are not saying that that is what is happening, but we are saying some of these schools are still not capturing this accurately and truthfully. Educators capturing this, the attendance from their memory, not calling out the names in the class. Most of their educators capture this, even at home. So we are saying that we have people that are doing this the right way, and we have people that are not doing this the right way. But what will propel this to be done the right way? When school has laid down processes, okay? Like when you go to some schools, you'll be amazed how things work. And a register cannot be taken from an educator straight to the admin clerk for capturing. It must go through the HOD for verification, to make sure that things are right before it goes to the admin clerk. But most of them go straight. Most of them, the admin clerk has to walk to the class to knock on the educator and request for that. So we are saying, can processes be put down? And this processes helps us to verify this information. The next thing here is capturing of attendance onto Ssams is not done accurately and truthfully. And that is what I have just talked about. I've alluded to that when it talks about how this information is being captured. I mean, how this register are being received from the educators to the admin clerk, okay, who verifies this, who makes sure that the information is captured accurately, okay? Errors are being done. And an admin clerk might be capturing this, and her attention is being called by someone else, and maybe she's capturing grade 2, and she comes back and she goes to grade 3, maybe grade 3A. Okay, human beings we make errors. Who verifies that errors? That's what we are saying. Okay, the next one here is the management and verification of learner attendance is absent at school level. Okay, one thing I like about this point is that they speak to each other. Okay, now under the verification of learner attendance being absent at school level, the result of that is the above reports results in reports on DDD is being inaccurate. Now, remember, garbage in, garbage out. Whatsoever you feed Ssams is what you will see on the dashboard. So if you want to use those reports for monitoring and for reporting purposes, then we have to be very, very attentive when we capture. We have to make sure that the mechanisms to verify, to check, and to capture this accurately are being put in place in our schools, okay? Then we'll enjoy the dividends of the processes that we have put down, where we'll have accurate information on the report on the DDD. Another negatives when we have the absence of verification of learner attendance in our school is unfavorable audit findings by the auditors. Now, remember, the auditors, their work is to make sure the books are aligned, they are accurate. Now, what is on the dashboard? What is on Ssams? Is it different from what I am seeing on the raw data, on the raw attendance at the school? Or does it match? Remember when I talked about the 1,027 learner count on the dashboard? Is it the same when we get to that school? Am I going to see 1,027 or am I going to see 1,500? That is what the auditors are actually looking at. Is the information correct? Does it speak to each other? Okay. Now, moving right along, colleagues, we are going to now look at the best practices for learners. Remember, as I said, the best practices of this are what is being done at Gauteng, okay? And we are saying that if you want to adopt this, make sure it's in line with your provincial policies. Now, the first one we are going to talk about is the daily learner attendance management. We have the daily, we have the weekly, and we have the monthly. And then we are going to be talking about the right ways of marking attendance register before we now go to the question and answer. Please keep your questions coming. And also I see people's hand being raised. Please keep it that way. We would attend to each and every one of you. Now, colleague, the first one here is the learner attendance register is handed out to class teachers during morning school briefing. That is the process. We have the process, who is responsible, and the purpose why this process is being done. Now, who is responsible for this is the designated SMT member. Also, the purpose is to have a daily record of learner attendance, which enables a school to monitor learner absenteeism and take appropriate follow-up action with both parents and learners. And that also speaks to registers that are not being marked during the official registration period, which the responsibility lies with the register class teacher. Okay, now the next one is registered are returned during or at the end of official registration period. Now the responsibility lies with the register class teacher, and the purpose is for safekeeping, for verification, and for transcription. Now, the last but not the least here is capturing of absenteeism on Ssams. Who is responsible for that is the Ssams data capturer or designated official. Now, when we talk about designated official, we find out that most schools in provinces don't have that luxury of having an admin that they pay. You understand? Because of budgets. Okay. Now, what they do is that most educators are the one doing this. And we are not saying that, because we have yesterday there was complaints. There's a principal that said, his school, he has educators doing this, but it's not the right way and all that. And we know about this, but we are saying it's what we are experiencing at the school. So that's why we are saying it's not just Ssams administrator, also the designated officials that also assist. And the purpose of this is for extraction of attendance record onto the dashboard, also for monitoring composite record by district and province, remember, after verification. Now we are going to weekly learner attendance management. What is the process? Submission of reason for absenteeism. Who is responsible? The register teacher. Now, what is the purpose? The purpose is to have accurate record for absence that contributes to informed decision made for progressing learners. Okay, now we are also the next one here is capturing of absenteeism on Ssams. Okay, who is responsible for that? Ssams data capturer or designated officials. And the purpose is for extraction of attendance record on Ssams, for monitoring composite record by district and province after verification at school level. The last but not the least here is monitor and verify registrars and capturing on Ssams, monitor and verify registers and capturing on Ssams. Now the responsibility lies within the designated SMT member, and the purpose is to ensure that registers are well and accurately maintained as stipulated in Government Gazette, 4th May 2010, number 33150 under the National Policy on Learner Attendance. Another of the purpose is to monitor absenteeism trend. Remember, we talked about that. Also, we have another process which talks about report absenteeism of 3 consecutive days without a reason to the principal. Remember, we talked about that earlier. And who is responsible? The register teacher. And the purpose of this is for the principal to contact the parents by whatsoever means are suitable to determine the reason for that learner's absent. Okay. Now, the last one here is to upload attendance to the DDD. Who does that? The principal. Remember, most of the schools, the principal do not actually do this, but we are saying you can delegate. Remember what I said, as someone that is responsible and you delegate, you must make sure that that function is being carried out timeously at the right time. Okay, what is the purpose of uploading your attendance to the DDD? Is for reporting and monitoring. Okay, now the last at this level, which talks about learner attendance management, the monthly learner attendance management. One is, the process is printing of monthly class registers. Okay, now the responsibility lies with the Ssams learner attendance administrator, and the purpose is to serve as official school class registers. A lot of schools are actually doing this, which I actually know about. Report absenteeism of 10 consecutive days without a reason to the principal. Remember, the weekly is 3 consecutive days, while the monthly is 10 consecutive days. And the responsibility lies with the register teacher, which the purpose is also for the principal to contact the parent by whatsoever means suitable to determine the reason for absenteeism. Now, the last one is also to deregister absent learners that have 10 consecutive days without a valid reason. Who authorizes that? Who gives that instruction? It's the school principal. Remember, it's only the school principal that can authorize a deregistration of learners in a school. And that is also stipulated in the Government Gazette, 4th May 2010, number 3310. You can look at that, and then under the National Policy on Learner Attendance. Now, colleagues, looking at the last but not the least, which is the marking of registers and tracking learners. Okay, we're saying what is the best practice of marking registers and tracking learners? Number one is you have to call out all the learners' name as on the learner attendance register. Indicate presence, leaving the cells blank. That is, if they are present, leave that cell blank. Absent by an A, you understand? So most times you might, and other provinces might have a capital A or a small a, but as I said, you must adhere to the policies by your province. Okay, who is responsible for this? It's the register teacher. What is the purpose? To ensure or validate accurate report. Also, very important aspect, provincial/national policy guideline. Then the next one also is the process is to capture newly registered learners timeously by putting the letter N capital. Remember, as I said, if your province doesn't do it that way, go with the way your province did, but it has to be done. And to ensure correlation of dates between the two systems. Also, deregistering learners as per parent communicate timeously. Ensure correlation of dates between the two systems. Okay. Now, who is responsible is the register class teacher, also the Ssams learner attendance administrator. And the purpose is to maintain accurate records. Now, we have also looked here, we saw that there's a sample marked Ssams register, okay, which have the school name, learner attendance register. We have the grade, we have the learner name, date of birth, the gender, and also we have the attendance. Now, A here denotes absence. It can be small a, it can be big A, whatsoever your province approve, okay? Now, the other one is blank. We all know on Ssams, blank means that learner is present, right? We don't mark present on Ssams. It's only absenteeism that we mark, okay? Now, we also say D, when you put D here with a solid line, that means the end of the month and it denotes registration, okay? Now, also we have the solid line preceded by N. This one here preceded by N, which denotes new entry. And when you draw a line here, you draw a neat line through a corrected entry and opened initial above it. Colleagues, as I said, this is a Gauteng best practice. What we are saying is, if you know that this would work for you and it's in line with your provincial policy, you can please adopt it. Okay. Now also responsibility of principals. It's under the implement provincial learner attendance policy and also under the government gazette as stipulated here. These are the principal's responsibility are quite very it's elaborated there. It is quite straight to the point there. You can take a look at that. Okay, colleagues, I believe that we have gotten a bit of knowledge on what is expected of us when it comes to attendance. And I know there's a whole lot of questions when it comes to attendance because a lot of people were talking about the rotation, the comorbidity, and all that. We have Mr. Sami Bluli here to assist us with the questions and answers. And also, colleagues, please note that we might not answer every question because Mr. Mdluli is not resided in DBE, okay? He's not part of the tech people that are actually doing this, but what he has is that he has the knowledge of this. So the questions he can respond to based on his knowledge, he will. And those that he cannot respond to, we will take those questions and we'll come back to you with the answers. Okay, now I would go first of all to those learners, those attendees that their hands are up. And I'm trying to look for attendees that their hands are up and I'm not seeing any, so it's fine. I would go straight to the attendees, the questions and answers, okay? And I can see, thank you so much for the questions that you've put here. So, Mr. Ndluli, I'm going to be reading the questions one after the other as we did yesterday, and then you'll be giving the answers. Are you ready? All right. Thank you so much. So I have one from Magwana saying, good day to our facilitator and all participants. I just want to know whether I'll be able to get the recording if I was not part of the webinar. Okay, I'll answer that. Magwana, the recording will be sent, as I said, the recording, the slides, and the link to the presentation will be sent to you and other attendees that have attended yesterday and today. It's sent approximately 24 hours. You would receive it in the email that you registered when you're actually registering for this session. Okay, Oliswa said grade 7 was at school in June and also reopened earlier in June. How do we capture attendance? I'm looking at the amended school calendar. Can you assist with that, Mr. Mluli.
Thank you, IK, for the opportunity. All right, number one, that amended calendar, first of all, everyone that has received it, as long as you're working on Ssams, after receiving it, we were supposed to go into Ssams and update that calendar. So that it's not just a calendar that we are having, but it's not implemented on Ssams. This, for instance, was going to help us. Like now, there are some schools where they are not able to do anything in terms of attendance and so on because they have not updated the calendar, and their Ssams and Valley Structure say the schools are supposed to have been closed from the 23rd of September. So what I'm trying to say is the first thing we were supposed to do when we received the amended calendar was to go into Ssams and update it. So updating it was going to assist, especially with the attendance that you are talking about, because if you did not go into the system and update the calendar, obviously you are going to experience the problems you're experiencing in terms of attendance. So I'm just hoping I tried to cover the reason why you are having a problem.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mluli. I can also see the next question here, and I'm going to answer that because that was alluded also yesterday. It says here, and this person actually attended yesterday's session. It says, we went back and updated the learner absenteeism with new COVID reasons on Ssams since the school started and after lockdown, but the percentages are incorrect. Did we do anything wrong, or should we wait for a new batch? So if you are talking about the percentages on the dashboard, where we talked about the target percentages and all that, if it's going to affect that. But if this is not what you asked, you can raise your hand and I can give you the audience to speak. But if that is what you're saying, I remember yesterday Mr. Letudi alluded to the fact that it would unfortunately affect your percentage, your attendance percentage, because of the new normal and the way attendance is being marked. Okay, I hope I was able to answer that question. There's also another question requesting for the recording of this session. As I said earlier, colleagues, you'll be able to receive the slides, the attendance register, and the link to the recording of this session. It will be sent to you if you have registered and joined this session approximately 24 hours. It will be sent to you. Okay, moving to the next one. Mr. Mluli says it's from Nordin. It says, why does Ssams not make provision for rotation of learners? No matter what, attendance stats will not be a true reflection, as all schools does this in different ways and there are no clear directives.
Thank you very much for the opportunity once again. Yeah, as you said, I would refer you to the policy on attendance, first of all. We only mark a learner present, or like IK said, when we mark, we definitely only put the absence. But where the learner is present, we don't do anything. It is by default, all the learners are taken to be present until we put the A next to the learner. So what this means is, according to the policy, a learner is present when that learner is physically at the school. For instance, the learner is in class, we can see the learner. In that case, yes, the learner is deemed to be present. But if we have an arrangement, like we need to observe the social distance by dividing the learners into groups, obviously those that are not at school will be marked absent. That is according to the definition of the marking of that register. They have to be absent. Yes, on Ssams, a provision has been made so that we can go and select the reason for their absence as the COVID arrangement, according to exactly the way it has been put in there. So, but if learners are not at school, we cannot go and mark them present because they are actually physically not there. Even though it is by arrangement, because we are trying to observe a regulation or a rule that says we need to observe the social distance by dividing the learners into different groups. Yes, you are very right. I will agree with you that the statistics will never be correct in the sense that we are going to have more learners that are absent than in the normal situation. So, but let's just all agree and believe that if a learner is not physically at school, they'll have to be marked absent, even though we know it is not of their own doing. They are absent because we had to divide the class into different groups so that we observe the social distancing. Yes, you're very right. In other words, even the dashboard is going to be affected because that percentage that IK talked about is going to be, it's not going to be met. In other words, we can see a lot of red pie charts there because a lot of the attendance is not going to even reach the minimum, which is the 95%. So that one we must just know is going to be like that. Not only that, it's also going to affect other situations, for instance, where we know that policy dictates that if a learner has been absent for more than 10 consecutive days in a month, this and that and that and that and that needs to happen. But we know if it is due to this coronavirus activities and the regulations, we will not subject the learners to those regulations in the policy because this is per arrangement. I'm just hoping I've responded to that question.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Mludi. Moving right along, we have this session. I think it's still in line with what you're saying, but I'm just going to read it up. If there's something you need to add, please go ahead. It's from Tobeka, and Tobeka is saying, how do we mark learner attendance as we choose the alternate day option?
All right, thank you once again. Yeah, obviously, as I was responding to the previous one, I alluded to this one. So the way to do this is, as long as we have made that arrangement, it means the learners that are at school on that specific day, they will be marked or they will be deemed to be present. They are present actually. But the ones that are not there, like we said, even if it is per arrangement, the mere fact that they are not at school, whether that is something that has been arranged or not, they are supposed to be marked absent on those days. Yes, we know on Ssams, the moment we say a learner is absent or an educator, it immediately takes you to the screen where you have to go and furnish the reasons why this learner is absent. That is where you will pick up the reason which has to do with the COVID pandemic situation. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Mludi. We have another question from Linda Moss. Linda is saying, thank you for this webinar. My question may not be relevant to this, but I would ask it anyways. During lockdown, we went from Ssams to D6. The process of extracting data from D6 to Ssams works well, but when I go to the value structure, it says learner and staff attendance is not up to date. I think I would respond to this, and I know the D6 is the third party and all that. What I would advise Linda to do is that I know it's going to have a challenge or an issue with the attendance. But Linda, if you are still struggling with this, please contact our help desk, our DDD help desk at help@dbedashboard.co.za, and that is the number on the screen. So we know that you can convert your information from extract from the dashboard into the D6. But if you are having challenges with the attendance, this needs to be checked. And I know that the new normal might affect the attendance, but also it's no harm to make sure that you are doing the right thing. Thank you so much, Linda, for that question. We have another question also from Carmen. Carmen says, what do we do with the phasing in of learners? The grade 7 learners came first. What do we do with the other grades during those weeks?
Thank you, IK. Ladies and gentlemen, if you remember, our latest patch that we are using allows us, for instance, to immediately go in and deactivate those grades that are not attending. For instance, if we're only having grade 7 attending and the other grades are not attending, the system allows us these days to go in and deactivate those other grades that are not attending, because otherwise, if you're not deactivating them, you will have to go in and mark absent to all the learners that are there. So by deactivating them, in other words, you're saving yourself a lot of time and errors by making sure that those grades are not active. So in other words, that in itself, it assists you, especially when you have to work on attendance. And the dashboard, fortunately, is going to not give you a problem as far as those are concerned. So remember, if we had only grade 7 in some secondary schools, or in secondary schools grade 12s, it means those other grades that are not attending, when they do the attendance, they can go in and deactivate them because those grades are not in. And the deactivation even asks you up to what date. For instance, if they've not been in for this week, you can do it for this week. Meaning next week, if those other grades come in, you can let them continue. In other words, it has got all the grades and the ticks in boxes. So every grade that has got a tick in the box, it means the grade is active. But to deactivate the grade, you remove that tick so that the box remains empty. So the system will know that you are only having limited grades at the school. Not all the grades are attending. So this helps us in terms of marking attendance and so on. So in other words, you don't need to bother to go to those grades that are not active to try and go and update the attendance for that period that we have mentioned. I'm sure some of you that have gone into Ssms will realize what I'm talking about. So it's one of the nice things that have just been upgraded into Ssms so that we can definitely deal with this situation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mluli. Also, colleagues, I have just launched the polls. Please, as I said in the beginning of this, we value your feedback, your honest feedback. Please feel engaged with the poll and please give us your honest feedback, how the session is running. And also, colleagues, we are talking about submission that is happening. Also, we're talking about how this impacts the data. Another thing that is going to affect this is if your value structure is not up to date. And the next session we'll be running from next week is going to be talking about the value structure version update, what you need to know. Please don't miss that. It's going to be valuable for the school level users. It's also going to be valuable for the MEs. So you can invite your friends and we are going to send the links out. Please register to attend. All you need to know about updating your value structure and making sure your value structure is up to date. All right, moving right along, colleagues. Mr. Mluli, this also speaks to what you have been talking about. The question is from Nordin. I can see this another question saying, will this influence, and I'm talking about the attendance, will this influence the promotion at the end of the year due to the absenteeism?
Thank you so much for that. As you have mentioned, as we were going along with the webinar, remember we have a new normal. So in the new normal, whatever is happening here as a result of the COVID, it's not going to be treated the same way as we did before we had COVID. What I'm trying to say in other words, or in simple words, is that this is not going to affect the learners at the end of the year. So in other words, you are not going to consider the absence when we have to look at the performance. So it is not going to form, it's not even a factor on that because we know very well that our normal is a new one. We are no longer dealing with what we used to have before COVID came into being. So because of the COVID situation, the normal is now new. We have had to change and adapt to the situation. So do not worry because that is not going to be part of the assessment of the learners in terms of maybe learners that would be progressed and so on. So it is not going to be a factor as far as that is concerned, especially where the learners have not been attending as a result of the arrangement that have been made. Like, for instance, as we said, to observe the social distancing and so on. We know very well that those learners were not absent because of their own doing. They were absent because of the arrangement that has been made. So as long as it is something that we have arranged, it means we have agreed with the situation. So we cannot use that against the learners in any form or fashion. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I'll pause on the question. I can see that Mdu's hand is up, and I would allow Mdu to speak. It might be a question, it might be a comment, it might be a contribution. Mdu, I've just allowed you to speak. Please, you can just unmute yourself, and please go on with your question or comments. Mdu?
Good afternoon, IK and the attendees. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Mdu.
Thank you so much to Mr. Mdluli with the clarifications and especially on the learner attendance, because we've got audit as well through learner attendance. However, even though Ssms has upgraded to 20.0, we now have to have that awesome option to block the grades that are not attending on that particular day. But what I've tested is that it works fine in the whole term, only for one grade. Like, if I could make an example, when grade 12 and grade 7 were back in class, it was possible for the system to block all the other grades and update the attendance only for those grades. But now that all the grades are back in class, you know, when you block in a particular grade that is not attending today or this week, and then by tomorrow, and then you unblock them because you want to update their attendance, the attendance there for the previous day, it comes up as unmarked. I do not know if they have if they have noticed that. Then, which means now it means that now the school must go back and update the attendance as correctly. But in Mpumalanga, what then I have so I've advised the schools, it will be also in line with what Mr. Mjuli has said. If down the attendance for the previous day, it now pops up as unmarked because that grade had been blocked the previous day, then I've just advised the schools to just mark them absent and give them the reason that is related to the timetable that was not allowing them to attend on that day. I just want to bring that to Mr. Mjuli's attention. I do not know if they have seen that. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for that. Yes, that's a very good contribution, because obviously, the other thing that I needed to say on top of what you have said is that obviously, if it's just for a day or for a few days, we cannot just deactivate the grade. So in that case, if it's just for a number of days, they will have to be marked and marked absent. But if it is just for them to be absent for today and tomorrow, and on the other day we activate, that is where the message will pop up to say you did not mark the register for the past 2 days or for the past week and so on. Yes, I am 100% in agreement with you, and I like what you've done already. Because if it comes up like that, they need to go back to those days and mark absent. Thank you for that.
Sorry, I didn't know I was on mute. Thank you so much. And colleagues also, I'm happy that Ndu was able to speak. Colleagues, Ndu is also an Ssams trainer in Mpumalanga. He's also one of the DDD TTT accredited trainers there. I'm happy that he was able to put up also his knowledge on what we are actually discussing on. Thank you so much. I can also see, I'm still going to the questions. Colleagues, please take out time to also fill in the polls, okay? We can see that 57 people only has actually engaged with the polls. Please take out time and actually fill this while you listen to the comments that is going on. I also see Ofenze's hand up. Ofenze, I'm going to give you the access to speak. Please unmute yourself and then you can go on. Ofenze? Please unmute yourself and then you can speak. Ofenze, I can see your hand. Okay, please go ahead. Ofenze, it looks like your network is a bit, okay, please go ahead.
My question is about the times at which we are holding these meetings, 12 o'clock.
Okay, go ahead. You said the times that we are holding this meeting, 12 o'clock.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, it's like I'm losing connection here, but my question basically was, can't we have this meeting held and let them, yes.
All right, Ofenze, unfortunately, your network is very poor. We cannot hear what you're saying, but you can also type your question on the Q&A. And I know it's in the line of the times that we are having the session. And also, please note that you can also have sessions with your provincial DDD project managers that have just listed also here, or if you want someone to help you and run this with you, we can also arrange that. But also you can listen to the recording. But please put your questions down on the Q&A and we'll be able to attend to it. Now, moving on, I can see there is someone here, anonymous, saying, is there an official document that the GDE has sent to schools on the marking of attendance registers, for instance, on marking learners absent if you use alternating days?
Okay, thank you. I'll speak from the province where I'm in. By the way, you have the various directorates or departments, if I can put it that way. For instance, one of those would be responsible for attendance. In this case, since they are the ones that are responsible, in other words, they are the policy owners in terms of attendance. Like in our case, we have got what we call the governance. So governance locally has got that mandate to make sure that all attendances are checked and verified, and everything is being done to make sure that the attendances or the policy on attendances is being adhered to, without even having to wait for any document from the DBE. I take it as we have 9 provinces. In each province at that level, there is a directorate or there is a section that is responsible for that, without even having to wait for a document that comes from the DBE. I take it, yes, we can have something from the DBE direct, but remember, if we are having governance at provincial level, we'll also have governance at DBE. So obviously they'll always be in liaison. So in other words, there's no way the local governance can say something contrary to what the DBE could have said. But in the province where I am, in the province where I am at, the local governance has issued out that based on the policy, since, well, they are part of the policy owners. So they've issued out a communique to all schools to say, based on the records and based on the policy itself, if a learner is not physically at school, they have to be marked absent. So it is a secular, or it is a communique or a directive that comes directly from the local governance. So I'm not sure about the other provinces. So other provinces, maybe they're waiting for something that comes directly from DBE, but I'm telling you, it would be basically the same, because we are talking about the same directorate, even though you're talking about it at different levels, whether it's be it the province or yes, or the national. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Colleagues, I would want to also ask this question from Johannes. He says, what about the learners who have permission from the department to stay at home?
Okay, thank you. Remember, to me, it would be the same if they got permission from the department to stay at home. It will be the same thing as if they got permission from the school that they are going to come only on specific days. It is the same thing to me, because in other words, the school is giving them permission to stay at home on certain days because they are not supposed to be coming. That is based on the timetable that shall have been arranged. So to me, the two are similar. It's just that the other one comes directly from the department, but the other one comes directly from the school, because the local arrangement at the school level obviously is going to be something else compared to what the department will directly push down to the schools. The school knows better in the sense that they are working with these learners directly, and they are the ones that will be determining what their timetable is going to need. For instance, they can divide one class that is so big into 3 groups or 2 groups and whatever. They are the ones that are at the cold face of the whole situation. So as to how many groups they decide, that will determine how many of the learners have to stay at home at a specific time. So I take it, to me, it's the same. If the department directly issues out an instruction to say to other learners, you can stay at home, they will still be marked absent, because they are not absent because of their own doing or because of their choice. They have been instructed or they've been told to stay at home for whatever the reason. So as long as they are physically not at school, if you can just take into account the word physical, they have to be there physically. You have to, if you do the head count, you have to find them there, then they are present. But if they are not there, whether they've been sent somewhere or whatever the case is, the mere fact that when you do the daily checking or the daily marking of the register, they are not there. We do not even look at the reasons. The mere fact that they are not there physically means they are absent. The only way we will go in and select the reason why they are absent. Maybe one of the reasons for the absence would say because they've been told to stay at home or they've been approved that they can stay at home by the department or by the school or by whoever in authority. So as long as they are not physically at school, they are absent. They are supposed to be marked absent. Because if anything else is done, they are sent home, but we mark them present. Obviously, just imagine if something happens to a learner that is at home and the learner has been marked present at school. Something happens to that learner that is not at school, they are somewhere else where the department has said they can be. Can you see where some of the issues are going to come in? Because the school says the learner is present because the department has said the learner can stay at home, but something happens to the learner at home. So where would the learner be? Where are we going to look at? When we go to the school will say the learner is present, but when you go home, the learner was at home, something happened to that learner at home. Hence this issue of saying the learner has to physically be at school to be marked present. If they are not physically at school, the reasons, yes, will be finished when we mark them absent, but they have to be at school to be present. If they are not at school for whatever reason, then they are absent. Otherwise, we'll be changing the policy.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mluli. I can see that we've hit the time for 1 p.m., but we are going to take 10 minutes as we did yesterday because I can see we are still over 100 people still online here. That shows that there is a need for this. So I'm going to take just 10 minutes more to attend. I can see Tandazani's hand, and I can remember Tandazani was here yesterday. Tandazani, I'm going to allow you to speak. I've just unmuted you. Please unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you. You're actually very faint. Tandazani, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here, sir.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
Yes. Good morning, sir, and all the listeners. What I'm saying is I wish what you are communicating to us should also be communicated in all districts so that what you say is the same in the whole department. Because there is just a confusion when it comes to the total number of learners who are present.
Okay. All right. Is that your comment? Okay, please go ahead. Do you have anything to add there, Mr. Mluli?
No, yeah, I wanted to concur with him because remember, this is something that is unprecedented. It's no time we have something like this. This situation, there will be a lot of errors that happen and there will be a lot of mistakes that are committed. I think that is one of the mistakes, like you say, if this was communicated in all the provinces, all the districts, and all the institutions, it was going to be okay. But remember, when something like this happens, something that you don't have any experience in, that is why some people are even still seeing the president as being wrong in some cases for the actions that he has taken, because it's something that we don't have any experience with. We are having it for the first time. We will have hiccups. Hiccups like that do happen. And thank you for that comment, because obviously we do not have the same communication going through all the provinces. So we're sorry about that. I mean, on behalf of the DBE.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mluli. And also, I also agree with you. This is a situation we've not found ourselves in before. So there is going to be a whole lot of up and down. But the beauty of it is that we are forging a way forward and we are sensitizing each other about this, on how this can be well managed and well handled. Is there a new patch coming out before the end of the term that is coming from Carmen?
Okay, thank you so much for that. Even though I can't speak on behalf of the DBE, one thing that I can assure you with is that they are, as we speak, busy with that patch. As to when that patch is going to come out, we still have to find out. But one thing for sure is they are busy with the patch, because I'm sure based on the experience that you might be having with Ssms, you'll see that in a number of ways, it does no longer correlate or does no longer talk to the curriculum changes that have been effected. So there are a number of things on Ssms that have to be tweaked so that it can talk to the changes that they've made on the curriculum. But as we speak, I know for sure that some people that are developing Ssms are busy with the patch. As to what the patch will come with, we will see when it comes. And the other issue that I wanted to say is I'm not sure whether it will come out the same way with other patches, because usually with any patch that comes out, they send out the patch after they have made changes, and then they send it to all of us to test it. And after testing it and we give them the results, if everything is exactly the way they said they've done it, then the patch goes out and then it can be utilized. But in this case, I'm not sure, because looking at the whole situation, we're only having about 22 days, counting the weekends as well, before the schools are closed for this term. So I'm just hoping for some, one way or the other, we will get the patch long before the schools close so that it can be implemented, and then it will correct all the issues that are found on the curriculum as a result of the COVID-19 changes.
All right, thank you so much. Fantastic. There's a question from, okay, I can see most people are saying, can they have Mr. Mluli's phone number? But unfortunately, colleagues, please, I'm not allowed to share his phone number. Mr. Mluli might decide to do what he wants to do, but the protocol here is we are not supposed to give out any of our SMEs phone numbers, because they are actually very busy, and except they want to decide otherwise. There's another question here, which is saying that, and it's talking about, yes, it comes from Tobeka, and she says, are we going to have a session for assessment in the coming weeks, or have I missed it? It's another issue that I feel we need clarity on. Tobeka, we've had a whole lot of assessment sessions that have happened. Hopefully we might have one very soon, but as I said, we've talked about what is going to happen, the session for next week, which is Valistractor version update, all that you need to know. But if you feel you have, you need to talk about assessment, or you need clarity on assessment, you can engage in one of the provincial managers of the DDD with the information, or you can also engage with our DDD help desk, or call the number there, and something might be arranged for you. There's someone that is also saying here, please share from Jacqueline Taylor. It says, please share newly amended school calendar so that we can update Ssams 10 to date. I'm sure that this information is in the government gazette. It's also in the website. You can get those informations there. You can also send an email to the DDD help desk, and this information will be sent to you. We are wrapping up now. I'm just looking for questions. There's a lot of questions here. All right, Mdu is saying, thanks IK for the presentation. Thanks to Mr. Mluli as well for clarification. It will be also very helpful for schools to get an option on Ssams to get that proper blocking of grade that didn't attend without reflection of unmarked attendance in the following week. Thanks a lot, Mdu. Duncan here is saying, one of the biggest challenge in our schools is the availability of patches in time that may affect what has to happen on Ssams. May I appeal to the developers to fast track the availability of patches so that we implement the changes in time. It is really frustrating. I agree with you, Duncan, but I'm sure that when these patches are out, they are being sent out, and I'm sure that most of the attendees share your concern about the frustration. Remember, this is a new normal. We don't know what we don't know. We rely on this kind of sessions to get clarity on what we need to do. The last question here, and I'm going to give it to you, Mdu. This is the last question we are going to take here. It says, are you aware? I think it's a question. It says, are you aware that learner attendance will not balance if we mark learners absent due to COVID-19? Mdu? Mr. Mluli,
Right.
please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, as I alluded to that fact, that's why I even mentioned that it will not balance and it will not even reach the minimum. That's why I said we will see a lot of red pies there. There will be a lot of red pie charts that will show that the minimum has not been reached. Yes, it is exactly going to be like that. I mean, that is what we should expect as far as we know that the learners are not going to be at school every day because of the arrangement according to the timetable. So that is going to be affected, obviously. I mean, that one, make no mistake. As long as we're having learners not being at school every day of schooling, yes, that will affect not only the percentage, but everything that has to do with the record for attendance. That is why I even mentioned that we have the policy that talks about a specific consecutive number of days that learners are not being at school where certain actions have to be taken. We said that is going to be there, but as long as we are not having those learners absent for any other reason other than the arranged timetabling, then obviously those other issues that we are having with attendance will not apply, because the learners are not absent because of their own doing. They are absent because it is an arrangement at school due to the COVID situation. Remember, we're saying this is the new normal. So in other words, certain things will not going to hold, they are not going to hold exactly the same way as they do under normal circumstances, because this is not the normal situation that we are used to. It's the new normal. In other words, that is why now we cannot even be accepted into any shopping or shopping complex without a mask on. That's the new normal. We have not been living like that. So the same thing happens even on Ssms. We are going to have systems, we are going to have issues where the attendance is not reaching the minimum. It is going to be like that, there's no doubt. It is because of this COVID-19 pandemic situation. So make no mistake, that is going to be affected. Yes, I agree with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mluli. Thank you so much, colleagues. I can see Offense actually came through to us. He said, can we have this meeting later than 12 so that teachers can also be part of the session without disrupting classes? Thank you so much, Mr. Offense. We would actually have this in our planning session to talk about. Maybe we can have something else for the educators at a normal time, but I'm not promising anything. But I like the comment because we are actually going to deliberate and talk about it. There's also a question talking about how can I register my school SMT, the stats on the DDD dashboard. Colleagues, as I said, also contact either of these emails that has your province attached to it. Send them an email request. The form will be sent to you. You will be guided on how to fill the form. Also, send an email to the help desk or contact them via email. I can see a whole lot of questions from the chat box. Colleagues, unfortunately, we are going to end it here. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the session today. And most especially, my heart thanks goes to Mr. Samin Gludi, which has been who is very busy, but still took our time from his busy schedules to also give us 1 hour plus of his time. We are indeed grateful, and we thank you for your comments and contribution in trying to make sure the attendees understand this. Colleagues from my side, thank you so much and have yourself a wonderful weekend. I'm going to stop here and I'm going to ask Mr. Mluli to give us his last word before we close.
Thank you so much, IK. First of all, I would like to thank everybody that has participated in this session. All your questions were all very important and very necessary and constructive. I hope from this we have learned something. And then there would still be questions that have not been answered, but please do not be disappointed because there will be other sessions and other times where those questions can be answered. But I'm hoping a lot will be clearer as soon as we get the new patch, because it will answer most of the questions that we are having. And some people, for instance, at some schools have not updated. They have received the new amended calendar, but they have not updated it on Ssams because according to their thinking is that there will be a patch that would automatically update the calendar. So it is possible that within the next patch, there might not be any automatic updating of the calendar. Let's just make sure that all our schools are using Ssams with the amended dates on their calendar, because if that has not been updated, we are going to have a problem. Like I'm saying, as we speak now, some schools' databases say the schools are supposed to be closed because according to the previous one, schools were closing on the 23rd of September. But if they have not done anything to update. It means even now they are at school, but they are not able to attend anything. And it affects the dashboard in the sense that when they have to update or to upload their data on the dashboard, it forces them to extract the information as a final instead of term to date. And to upload as a final when you do not even have the results on the system, it means what we are uploading is not correct. So please let us just take care of that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to each and every one of you. Well, like IK has said, those that would love to contact me, I won't give you my personal number, but I would say if you can go to the Tutong website, you see all the provincial people that are there to assist in terms of the help desk and so on. You'll find my name there. There will be an office number there. You can use that to contact me during office hours. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mludi. Thank you for taking our time, as I said, to join us. And I hope, I want to put you on the spot here. I hope that you would agree to join us when we call on you next time.
Without any doubt, I'll definitely. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mludi. And colleagues, thank you so much to the attendees. Have yourself a lovely weekend. See you next week, where we'll be talking about the value structure on Thursday and Friday. And for me, thank you so much. Cheers. Bye.